Alright everybody, Krysten here. Thank you guys so much for tuning back into my channel. Welcome to what I think is going to be maybe the first episode of a do's and don'ts series for exercise demos. So for episode number 1, we're going to start with deadlifts. Cue intro. Two of the biggest mistakes that I still see constantly when it comes to people doing deadlifts. It doesn't matter if you're doing the conventional deadlift or the sumo deadlifts, these two mistakes are definitely for both variations. Mistake number 1 I see is hips being too low when you start. This is a hip hinge movement. Typically people are told that the deadlift is considered a squat. So you need to drop your hips and do the same movement that you would do with a squat. Well, this is not necessarily true. The deadlift is actually a hip hinge movement. So in order for the barbell to come up in a straight line, which is our number 1 goal when it comes to deadlifts, you actually have to start with your hips a little bit higher. If you start with your hips lower, as you'll see right here, you have to actually bring your hips up anyway. So you might as well start with them at a higher point because this is going to allow you to increase your stability. Mistake number 2, people arching their back at the top of the lift. I think people are doing this because they think it is a lower back exercise. I know a lot of people will do deadlifts on their back day, but actually deadlifts activate your lower body much more. Yes, you will feel a little bit of pressure in your lower back, but it should not be to this extent, and this should not be the reason why you are feeling pressure in your lower back. So you just want to stop when you are at a complete straight line. There is no need to hyperextend your lower back if this is just really going to put a lot of pressure on your lower back, and it is completely not necessary, and you're actually going to end up hurting yourself as you start to go up in your weight. So those are the main 2 mistakes that I see. A couple of tips before we sign off the video today to help you improve your efficiency and maximize strength when it comes to deadlifts. Firstly, let's start off with your setup. Today we are just going to discuss the conventional deadlift. If you are just a beginner lifter, I honestly recommend that you start out with a conventional deadlift. A sumo deadlift is much more advanced, it's much more difficult for a lot of people. So once you find that you have mastered the conventional deadlift, then absolutely you can look at transitioning into a sumo deadlift because there are benefits for people doing a sumo deadlift in comparison to a conventional deadlift, and this is just going to be based on how your body type is built. For simplicity purposes, we're just going to stick to the conventional deadlift today. So for the setup, you want your toes facing forward. Don't point them out or anything like that. A good cue for this is to pretend that you're going to do a vertical jump, and wherever your feet are, that is your starting point for your feet. When do you actually go to set up over the bar, you want to have your scapula over top of the bar. This is again going to allow you to lift the bar up in a complete straight line and to keep that barbell as close to you as possible. You don't want that sliding too far away from your shins. You should actually feel it graze up your shins as you pull the barbell off the ground. So by keeping your scapula over top of the barbell when you are at your starting point is going to allow you to achieve this. Next, we're going to talk about breathing. When you are breathing, your biggest goal here is to keep your core completely stable. So the best way to do this is by implementing the Valsalva maneuver. For this breathing method, this is where you basically lock the air into your lungs, and then this will keep your core nice and stable. So what you'll see a lot of people who are deadlifting do, they take a deep breath and they hold that air in their tummy until they come about halfway up with the lift. The most efficient way to actually hold that air in your tummy throughout that entire period of time is by locking your tongue to the roof of the mouth. That's going to keep the air locked, which is going to help keep your core nice and stable. Next, we're going to talk about the execution of the deadlift. So you want to generate as much force as possible. Even though this is a pulling movement, you want to pretend that you are pushing the earth away from you, which technically makes this a pushing movement. So by pushing the earth away from you, it's actually going to help you activate your glutes a lot more, which is essentially what we want because it's going to take that pressure off of your lower back. So a good cue for this is just to pretend that you're doing a leg press. So pretending that you are literally leg pressing the floor away from you. And then once you get to the top, don't hyperextend that lower back. Make sure you squeeze those glutes and you're all set. When you're bringing the bar down, you want to drive your hips back and unlock at the knees and let gravity do the rest. You don't want to let go of the bar, but you don't want to bring it down slowly. People who put the barbell down slowly typically injure their lower back. So make sure that you're letting gravity do its job. Yes, it's going to be loud. Yes, it's going to be noisy and other people aren't going to like it, but your safety is more important. And then last little tip is to not be afraid to reset. A lot of people will do bounce reps, which is totally fine, but I find that my form breaks down very easily by not resetting in between every single set. So don't be afraid to reset. It's totally okay to take a couple of seconds, rest in between each reps. You're not going to lose those hard-earned gains by doing so. It's just going to allow you to be safe. It's going to keep you injury-free, which is essentially what we want because it's going to allow you to lift a lot heavier as well. So that's it for today, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of the do's and the don'ts. If you find that you have any friends or family who need some help with their deadlifts, make sure you share this video. This is a very complicated movement, but it doesn't have to be if you take the time to ensure that your form and technique is 100% correct before doing that ego lifting, okay? So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.